Hey guys, this is Joey, Nate, and Chaz here from the Rumble Seat for our second edition of Rumble Seat Rabble. We got a lot of stuff that's going on since the last time we did this. We had a big old recruiting weekend this weekend. Three big commitments. It was a huge deal. And we also learned some pretty cool numbers we'll share with you. But I want to get started. Last time we were doing this, we started with, or we were talking about the in progress baseball regional. We were up at Vanderbilt and playing against Illinois in an elimination game, and things weren't looking too good at the time that we were recording. I think the offense had kind of gone cold. Illinois had a 2 or 3 run lead, but that kind of didn't end up being the tale as it ended up happening. So, Nate, you want to remind us how that went?
Yeah. So Georgia Tech came back strikingly in that game. Not with strikes, obviously. That would be terrible. And then came back and got out of the losers bracket to take Louisville, Vanderbilt, the number 2 overall seed in the tournament, to 2 elimination games. The first one was a beautiful game by Josh Heninger. 8 innings, almost complete game shutout, through 132 or 135, something like that, pitches. Shut out the Commodores 5-0, and so that was an amazing game. And then next night on that Monday, we played Vanderbilt to see who goes to the Super Regional, and that didn't work out so well for Tech. It ended up at 7-1, I think, was it, Chaz? And it was not one of the more fun games that I've listened to.
No. We myself and Matt Mills and a few other guys, we went up to Nashville to go see it, and it was a rainy weekend, and luckily the weather held off. But it's pretty interesting, that Vanderbilt Stadium. I know that you can kind of get an idea from watching it on TV, but I kind of hate having to say it, but it's very much like a home field advantage for them. They, especially in the rain, like what we were dealing with, it's like sliding on, there's no dirt except for the pitcher's mound. And, we actually got out of a few innings against Illinois, I think, and we had a few guys actually sliding through bases at second that we got out. I think we got out their first baseman, and I don't know. I hated saying it, but I kind of question whether or not it's like a true baseball field sometimes, because just the way that it's kind of interesting with some of the plays, and it definitely suits them, I guess, well.
It's not, though. It's total crap.
Yeah.
Sort of the same thing with field turf, but not really, because baseball's not played on grass always, all the time. There's 2 different surfaces that you have to deal with there. So I don't see how you can effectively simulate dirt with plastic. That just doesn't happen.
I mean, our first game on Friday, we had a chopper to third base that basically Illinois hit really hard, and it went right in front of the batter's box in fair play and bounced 20 feet in the air over Sam Dove's head. So, little choppers like that now turning into, arguably, these ridiculous plays. It was interesting to say the least, but the stadium wasn't that big either, which I was really surprised about.
Looks like Nate's having a couple difficulties. Chaz, I was going to ask you, I know Sunday night in that first game against Vanderbilt, Heninger threw an absolute gem. Would you say that's probably like the best you've seen him throw all year?
That's the best I've seen almost any freshman throw since I've probably been at Tech. I mean, I think I'm trying to remember back to some of our guys a few years ago, but definitely for him, that was having to see Farmer leave, it kind of makes me think that potentially he could step in and be this go-to ace that we're looking for. I mean, he pitched against the number 2, arguably potentially the number 1 team in the nation, and you see him come away with a win like that, shutting out Vanderbilt, who, went 9 competitive innings with LSU the weekend before. So, I mean, I think it's hopeful for that team, especially on the pitching mound, because, I mean, we're returning a few guys, and it's going to be interesting to see, who takes what role, because he did have a few other good outings, obviously not as good as that one, but against Ohio State, a few other places. So, yeah, I think he's definitely going to be someone to watch in the year to come.
You've got to hope that Clay and Roberts and King and those guys step up. But certainly the pitching staff is going to be the big question of next year's team. Danny Hall teams can always hit the baseball. I've never been worried about that in my 6 years as a Georgia Tech fan. So let's hope that they can find some arms.
Yeah, I think the good news is the fact that the leadership on this team the past year has been really, really strong, kind of building these guys, because it's, other than a few guys here and there, we still have some depth younger. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Gonzalez and a few other guys can step up and make some big plays. Kind of like when Dove got injured and Gonzalez stepped in and played, one of the best games he's had all season at third base, where he hasn't really seen him a lot of times. So we got some good underclassmen that are going to be stepping up and being leaders in the future.
Chaz, I know you've looked a lot at our recruiting class coming in for baseball, and obviously we're losing a lot of talent with all the guys we had drafted. I know Daniel Polka, Brandon Thomas, Zane Evans, obviously Buck Farmer, Kyle Wren. We lost about half of our starting team to the MLB draft, and they all went pretty high as well. But can you tell me, are we reloading effectively next year?
Yeah, I mean we have a good class. I think I want to say it was 16 guys coming in, and you see everything in this new class. I mean, this Elliot Barzilli guy coming from California is ranked 4th nationally on ESPN for top middle infielders in the nation. And he's been playing for a while. You see guys like that. There are a few guys up north, Terry McClure and who's the other guy? Brandon Golden, Ben Parr. They all actually played on the same team as Frazier, the guy who the high school phenom who went high in the draft this year. So I think I think it said something like top 10 overall nationally, which is great for this team. And so I think that they're definitely going to be gaining speed and able to continue this good play that we've been seeing for the past while with Tech. So Danny Hall might keep on playing well in the ACC, and next thing we know, we might be seeing Omaha next year. So who knows?
Awesome. Yeah, that's hopefully they can pull it together and reload after losing quite a lot of talent. But it sounds like they're in pretty good hands. Again, got a lot of talent coming in, so that's good to hear. I wanted to bring up also, I guess, is a little bit of a new topic. They came out with APR numbers this week, and I know both of our golf team and our football team were in the top 10 nationally in APR, and football in particular.
Mr. Weaver. Mr. Weaver.
Mr. Mullen.
What does APR stand for, sir?
Academic progress rating, or
there we go.
Aptitude, pride, rising. Nobody really knows, and that's kind of part of the problem with the APR is that all we know is it's some academic measure, and nobody is all too sure of how it's calculated or what it really implies. But all we know is that a high score is a good score, and we had the 5th best score in the country. I guess an interesting part of that is that we were 5th best in the country, but only 3rd best in the ACC. I think Duke came in at number 2, and Clemson was tied for 4th. So, again, interesting sort of seeing that we're 3 of the top 5 in the APR, and certain other leagues are 3 of the top 5 in other polls and whatever, but interesting to see where priorities lie. Wouldn't you say, Nate?
It's the highest score for Georgia Tech, in history, I think. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's significant improvement over the Gala years, but yeah, it's definitely a great provider of prioritization in certain areas of life. That's all I think I have to say about that.
I think we all know what you mean. But I wanted to, I guess the last topic we'll bring up is, again, Tech had a huge recruiting weekend these past few days. Yeah, Nate loved that. Friday evening, we got a commitment from defensive end Keyshawn Freeman. Kid looks like he's got a pretty bright future. Same thing Saturday morning, defensive end Tyler Merriweather. A pretty big get. He looks like he's a 3-star defensive end by most services, but looks like he's pretty under the radar at 3 stars. I think that he can be a major impact player. And then Saturday we picked up a commitment from the 4-star defensive end. 4-star cornerback, Step Durham. And he looks like he can be a real playmaker. I think he was the second highest cornerback on our board behind Malcolm Parrish, who we're told we'll hear from on Thursday, whether it's going to be us or the guys up in Athens. And time will tell how that turns out. I know that he's doing the hat show, and that typically doesn't really go our way too much, but we'll see. We'll see. Are you guys impressed with what you see so far from this recruiting cycle and this? They've made a lot of new hires. They put a lot into the recruiting efforts. What do you guys think from what you've seen so far?
Well, I was pretty floored by what's happened this weekend. I mean, when you got Joe Hamilton, right in the corner office saying, well, let me take you to meet the guy who does the recruiting paperwork, and it's Joe Hamilton. That's definitely a distinct advantage. But I'm glad that Babinski decided to make this a priority. I'm sure CPJ has been up the administration's excuse me, working down their path for a while to get something like this done, and they finally got it done, and it's paying dividends already. I mean, it's certainly having Ted Roof and CMP there doesn't help or doesn't hurt, but I mean, it's going well so far. Certainly, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So, what about you, Chaz? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is the start that we need. Seeing the numbers that we had last year, almost hitting halfway already. I mean, there's a lot of time still left, so we can't really speculate too much.
Yeah.
We know how things end up sometimes, but the fact that you can definitely see an increase in interest from from all the staff trying to make things better. I think that it's definitely a step in the right direction. Another thing on Joe Hamilton, it's interesting because we had some people are like, how influential is he going to really be? These players might not even know who he is. But we saw with Nikem Deach last year that parents and people around him really do play a big role, especially with these high-caliber athletes. And, you have Joe Hamilton walk into your house or whatever it might be, and your dad or your mom sees him, and, whoever is helping you make these decisions, like, that's definitely going to be something that's really going to help Tech in the future. So I think, some people are skeptic of whether or not he was actually going to be influential, but I think he's definitely going to be a huger role, play a large role in our success this year. So,
yeah, it certainly doesn't help to have a Heisman winner, runner-up on the staff. I don't think we can ever ignore the fact that he got robbed. Hey to you, Wisconsin fans, the career award to Ron Dane. But anyways, not only is he a great football player, but he's also been a great salesman. Just really the kind of guy that we do want working for our program. So hopefully that does pay dividends. I think the other thing we should probably point out about this class at this point is you've got 6 commitments, and all of them are on the defensive side of the ball.
All of them?
All of them. Each one of them, to my knowledge. Am I wrong? Am I missing something there?
No, you're right.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if that doesn't correlate a little bit with Mike Pelton and Ted Roof both being great recruiters, being defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe there's actually no correlation at all, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But my guess is that has something to do with it. And it's great to see that, in the past couple of years in coaching hires, Coach Johnson's definitely made a point of hiring folks that are really good at recruiting. And I think that he kind of acknowledged that was a bit of a weak point of where we were a couple of years ago, and he's clearly taken steps to fix it. So certainly a positive. The other thing I think was kind of interesting is that we were able to get 3 commitments within the span of about 24 hours.
Yeah.
That was something I haven't seen in quite a while. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty impressed by that.
No, that was great. I think that's really a successful, recruiting weekend. I know they had their big, event for the recruits. I don't know what the name of it is, but, they did that whole weekend where they kind of ran through some drills and stuff like that. So, I definitely think that that's really awesome that we can come out of that weekend, saying it was a success. And I know that the people in the recruiting office definitely thought that they did their job, and they can kind of look at something as a success for the weekend. So.
Yeah, and I think that while we did get 3 commitments for the weekend, there's some rumblings that we might be pretty close to a few more after the weekend. So keep an eye out. Keep checking the site for updates as we come up with them. But I think we're in a good position for now on where we stand in recruiting. But as Chaz kind of alluded to earlier, it's never over at this point until February. We've seen the past few years that all hell will break loose in the last 10 days before signing day, and it's almost like you're going back to square one and nobody ever committed anywhere to begin with. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully things aren't quite as much of a mess around here as they have been the last couple years. But again, some things are a little more out of our control than others, and this, unfortunately, is one of them, which is probably also a lot of the reason it's so captivating for us all to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, readers would definitely want to check in on Thursday, though, to see where where Parrish decides to go. So, I don't know, fingers crossed, say our GT prayers for a little bit, and, we might actually end up on the, on the successful side this time. So, we'll see.
That's right. Well, I think that's about going to do it for us. Hope you've enjoyed watching or listening to us. Feel free, give us your thoughts, give us your comments down in the comments section. Send us your questions via Twitter, via email, whatever it might be. But hopefully you enjoyed it again, and we look forward to talking to you next time. So